Assalamu alaikum. This is another episode of the JAMS football show with Kyle and Horace. Horace is not here today. I'm here talking to you about round one of the playoffs, JAMS flag football. Interesting round to say the least. Two videos were actually published, so I just finished watching them. I'm going to keep this super brief. I don't have the exact scores of the other games, other than what I've been told, but I don't see anything official on the website at least. So I'm going to go through and talk about some observations that I've seen from the games. Okay, so let's start off with the Hurricanes versus the Spartans. Played against both teams this year. Most recently against the Hurricanes. Went out and said pretty much all season that the Spartans is the better team. They end up winning the game 12-6. It was close for most of the game. In fact, Hurricanes actually scored first. I don't know the exact minute mark in which the Spartans scored, but it was relatively late in the game. I would say probably maybe half of the second half was left, or maybe even less than that. Early on, you saw a lot of drop passes in the game, both sides. Interesting thing, Dave Kilkenny gets put in at quarterback. Kind of makes a little scramble outside the pocket, heaves one really downfield for a touchdown. And it just makes you wonder, again, why don't they roll with him at quarterback even longer? And this is a question that I posed at the beginning of the season, or I posed this actually last year too. Hurricanes ended up going 7-3 in the regular season, losing in the playoffs. As good as Terrence Highsmith was, and a lot of teams would like to have a quarterback like that, would love to. The fact of the matter is, Kilkenny has won several championships quarterbacking that team. Why not roll with him? And their only score on the day comes from a very impressive touchdown pass that he threw. So anyway, just food for thought right there. Even though I thought Greg Kohlheim, the other quarterback who's been playing in recent weeks for the Canes, did do a pretty good job. Nevertheless, that Spartans defense is very good. I saw a lot of at least two, maybe three hook and ladder plays. I don't know if they were intended by the Spartans, if it was something that they actually tried to do. Maybe they saw something in the Hurricanes that led them to believe that that could be successful. Nonetheless, if it was kind of a seat of the pants thing that wasn't designed, I thought that was pretty cool. Ended up getting a couple extra yards, but didn't go for a touchdown or anything like that. Sometimes it's hard to keep track because you don't see a down and distance marker, and you don't know if there was a penalty on a particular play. So you don't always know the down and distance when you watch these games if you're not there in person. But it looked to be the Spartans' first touchdown pass was a fourth down touchdown toss by Omar Abbasi, which I thought was very, very clutch. They kind of got stopped on the goal line, but really liked that play. And the game winner, Shadi, his touchdown catch. I don't know if he's played the majority of the season. A couple of the games when we played them, he didn't play that game. And a couple other games that I've at least gone there. I can't ever say that I've actually seen him play this season yet. He probably has. But you have to believe that's some kind of sweet vindication for him, that he's sat out at least a portion of the season, comes in, just makes a purely beautiful touchdown catch on a very good defensive back in Dave Kilkenny, who I just praised before. Goes up, catches it with his hands. Dave can't fully get his body turned around to guard him. Coverage wasn't bad. Just an awesome throw and an awesome catch. Game winner right there. Give your props to the Hurricanes. They did play well, but, the better team won. Simple as that. Swag, Code Red. Code Red actually ends up putting up a fight. And they put up a fight last time, too. It was 8-0 the last time these two teams met. So a one-score game. And this was a one-score game as well. How about Sean McAllister at running back? So this is a position that running back for this team was played by the player that passed away. His name is Shaheem Anderson. He was a very good running back in his own right. I don't know who was playing running back for them in recent weeks, Swag. I don't know if it's been Sean. When we played them maybe 3-4 weeks ago now, it definitely wasn't McAllister. McAllister was actually wide receiver, and he played very good there. And he was also playing some wide receiver in this game. They ended up putting him in at running back, and he's probably the fastest player on their team. And they got Manny, they got D'Lo, they got other players, really good players who maybe are better receivers. But D'Lo admittedly was saying, he came on here and said, Sean is so fast, and teams don't really know that. He ended up, when we played them 2 years ago, week 2, when I was with the Titans, he ended up, I think, getting called for OPI, offensive pass interference, but he had burned our guy on a deep touchdown, which was called back. And this past year when we played them over at Torpy, I think it was Nick Colon, who's an all-star corner in his own right. He ends up beating him deep downfield for a touchdown as well. So he's got that vertical speed, and you saw it. He gets the handoff, and he goes the distance. And it makes you wonder, man, why didn't Swag try this a little bit earlier? And we saw running from both teams in this game was really a factor. And you start to see this in football when it gets colder out. I don't know what the temperature was like there, but it's not hot like some of these games have been. I know that for sure. And we saw it with Corey. I think he's actually really underestimated in his scramble. Dila did come on here and was saying, Corey is not the greatest runner in the world. I actually think he's one of the better scrambling quarterbacks in the league. He really ran a lot against us when we played them. Protection broke down for them a lot in that game, and he had some really good scrambles, and you could argue that we left it open. He ran to the outside and exploited it, took what he could get, and give him props for seeing that. But I actually think he's a pretty good scrambler. His speed's a little bit underestimated. And then you had, I don't know the player for Code Red, who ended up scoring, was it both touchdowns on draw plays? He ends up scoring touchdowns on draw plays, really effective there. And you even saw Haroon have some effective scrambles late in that game. One mismatch that you saw in this game was Code Red, as we've said many times, does not have an impressive O-line. That is where they struggle. And you saw Maurice Lyles play in this game. Hope I got the name correct, number 72 for Swag. And they just weren't really able to block him. I don't know that he had sacks, but pressures. That's something that's underestimated. It doesn't show up in the stat sheet. But when you're blowing a center or a guard up, pushing him back into the QB's face, you got to knock the QB off the spot. It's not going to do well for your passing game. So that was definitely a mismatch there. But again, give props to Code Red. They came out and played, but nonetheless, it did not work out for them. And then we got the two other games. The rematch from last year's awesome playoff game, Dime City versus the Knights. The Knights ends up winning by a touchdown week 7, I believe. A very cold, rainy game. Just horrible weather conditions in that game. I saw very, very little parts of that game, but the Knights ended up winning. You saw a little bit of implosion on behalf of Dime City in that game. Some players were cursing at each other after the game. There was a late penalty, and some players weren't happy about it. And the one player, he didn't like the fact that people were getting on him about that. That's one thing about Dime City. They bring that energy, they bring that fire, and they try to hold people accountable. And maybe it works well for them because maybe it motivates them to go out and play hard, and they still love each other no matter what. I mean, we've seen the joking between them and that player Jordan who played for the Hurricanes. But nevertheless, I picked Dime City in this game, to which Horace and Azhar picked the Knights. The Knights had the better record. They started off the season on a high note. Really impressive wins. Let's see how they ended the season. Let me see. So teams, the Knights. I should probably share my screen too. Okay. So Knights 7-2-1. Have the bad loss to the Unions, but then they beat the Spartans 20-6. You figure, and they beat Boonton 13-7, and that's a big one too. That's a really big one. So 2 out of their last 3 games were really impressive, if you ask me. And then the Union win, or the Union loss, certainly anything but impressive. But nonetheless, that's a very good team. But when you factor in just that last game, beating the Spartans by 2 scores, that's really impressive. They're coming into the playoffs on a high note, just as they did last year. In fact, they beat Dime City week 10 last year and won in convincing fashion too. But then once the playoffs started, I don't know what. I didn't see the game. I don't really know what happened. I didn't really speak to anyone in depth about it. But nonetheless, I'm pretty sure it was a 2-score shutout. I don't think the Knights scored in this game. Said all season their defense is better than their offense. Not overly impressed with their offense. Let's see. I'm trying to see if I can pull up that score. 13-0. 13-0. So I don't know what happened in this game, but as I've said, both teams very good lines on both sides. I think I would slightly tip maybe in Dime City's favor. Dime City's got the one game breaker. Maybe he went off in this game, Michael Gordon, that really no one has that type of weapon in the league. When you factor a guy who's got the ball in his hands, maybe Zach Ramjan is something similar. He's excellent with the ball in his hands as well. But he's just a complete game changer. You have to figure that maybe he went off in this game. I don't know that for sure. Just totally taking a guess. Yeah, but I have to imagine that Dime City executed really well in this game and probably won on the offensive line. And who knows, maybe it was something with turnovers as well. Hard to really speculate when you haven't seen the game. I was able to talk about the other games in a little bit more detail because they were put on the website. Okay, and then the biggest shocker of them all. The score that I got was 22-0, Boonton over the Union. And when we saw the way that the Union was playing in recent weeks, let's go and pull up their schedule. All right, so Union won their last three, tied with the Hurricanes, 14-14 the week before that. But then 20-12, 8-point victory over the Spartans. Just a complete whooping of the Knights. And then beaten Boonton 12-8. I went on here after, listen, we got our butts kicked by Boonton. And some of it was just poor play by us. But really, a lot of it was just they're a good team. They're a better team than the record says. They have, if you want to talk pure skill position players, they might be the most loaded in the league. I really don't have a problem saying that at all. Question for them in recent years was, are guys showing up? And it seems like the past couple of weeks, everyone's been showing up. And they're committed, and the ship has been righted. And it seems like Brandon Bowen has been an excellent addition at quarterback. So, although you take him away and he's an excellent receiver, one of the best in the league, top 5 in the league, no doubt about it, put him at quarterback, but you still have other ponies at receiver, and they're able to put up points like no other. So 22-0. Now, you have to figure out that Horace and I have said one area that Union struggles in is their offensive line. That is not the strength of their team, and I think that they would admit that. Kareem Mahmoud is an absolute game changer. He comes in, he plays week 10. I don't know that he's played another game all season. I have no idea about that. But he comes in and he probably dominated. I only saw very little part of that game, week 10. I have to imagine that he really kind of changed the dynamics of that game. But if you go on to the JAMS Flag Football website, let's go to Flag Football Home. Look at playoff ineligible players. They listed a couple for all the different teams. And for Boonton, Kareem, and I'm assuming this is his brother as well, they were declared ineligible because I'm assuming they did not play enough games this season. So Kareem is ineligible, and he probably played some type of role in this game. They probably did not have enough of a pass rush. Dominic Russo, he's great, one of the best in the league, but was it enough to constantly disrupt Brandon? I don't know. And if you give him time, he was going to make things happen. Probably made a couple plays with his legs too. I really think that. So this is very interesting. So let's see. Let's try to pull up the upcoming schedule for this week. Got to get in some really quick picks. Okay, so the semifinals. Both games are Riverside Park on Sunday. Swag versus Boonton, 8:45. Then you have Spartans Dime City at 10:05. Okay, Swag versus Boonton. Let's see. What was the score of this game early on in the season? By the way, this is a last minute show. Okay. So Boonton, 4-6. It's amazing that they're 4-6. Technically 5-6. They lost to Swag 24-30. How did I forget this game? This is an excellent game. 54 points put up in a one-score game. You don't really see that often in JAMS. Usually when you see a lot of points put up in a particular game, it's a blowout. 24-30. Wow. Very rare. Who do I like in this game? I'm going to go with the team I've been ranking number 1 all season. I'm going to go with Swag. They got Maurice Lyles. I don't think that, my question is, a guy who really came in and just wrecked the playoffs last year, Dawiz Garman for Swag. I didn't see him in this video. Is he playing? Because one thing I'll say, Swag, when we play them, not entirely impressed with their pass rush. Maurice Lyles did not play in that game. But you put those two on the field, and your pass rush is completely different. I don't know. Is Dawiz hurt? I know he's had an ACL injury a couple years ago. Did he re-injure? I have no information about that. I'm just completely speculating here. But why isn't he playing? He came to our game and he watched, and it was raining a lot that day. It wasn't at the Riverside Field, which I believe is closer to his home. So, for him to come out to that game, but not playing it, I have to imagine that he's probably hurt. I don't know that for sure, though. So I'm going to say, not playing this game. Is Maurice going to play in this game? Doesn't come to all the games. Nonetheless, I still think that Swag has the offensive firepower to put up enough points I think this is going to be another high-scoring game. I think you're going to see at least both teams put up 2 touchdowns apiece, at least, potentially more. Wow. I'm going to go just because it's colder now. I know we saw a lot of scores in the previous games, but I'm going to go with Swag, and I'm going to put it a 1-score game. I think that they're going to win 20-14. 20-14 Swag. But I tell you what, though, Boonton is a dangerous team. Swag, they better come out ready to play. So, Swag, I've been picking you guys all year, and you guys have been making me look good in that regard. So this is my challenge to you guys. I mean, I'm not going to pick any favorites. I really don't care who wins. I like a lot of people on a bunch of teams. But, hey, Swag, if you want to make me look good, go out and win. But by all means, love you guys on Boonton too. You guys go out and win. I've been praising you guys in recent weeks. You'll make me look good too. I said that the game was going to be very close against Union. I'm on the record saying that last week. So, nevertheless, let's go on to the last game. Dime City versus – where did I just pull up the schedule? Okay. Spartans, Dime City. I'm picking Dime City in this game. I really think Spartans have tapered off from recent weeks. They're not going to like this. You know what? Spartans is not going to like this. Their guys have been getting on me all season. But you know what? I said they're the better team against the Hurricanes. They did not look good early in that game against the Canes. It was close the whole game. But you know what? The better team won. But I've really seen – I think Dime City's probably just playing better at this point in time in the season. For whatever reason, Spartans has tapered off a little bit in recent weeks. 8-2, no doubt. Very impressive, but they lost 2 out of their last 3. And that's talking just regular season. So they've been 2-2 out of their last 4 if you include the playoff game. But I'm going to go with Dime City in this one. You're going to see a complete battle in the trenches on both sides in this game. I really, I've been on the record saying that I love Ahmed Harris coming off the edge, one of the best edge rushers in the league. They should have made that switch sooner. Not as big as a fan of his brother. This guy, Queel Bay for Dime City, he's been really impressive too. Big boy. They got him listed at 300 pounds. I went against him. He's a mongrel himself. Hassan Hamdan, one of the highest motors in the league. He plays really well. Who's going to be able to block him off the edge for Dime City? I'm trying to think who they play at tight end. Michael Gordon, he's a great playmaker with the ball in his hands. And you know what? I was saying, what other team has a guy who's really good with the ball in their hands in this league? My mistake. I forgot about Omar Kotanani. Both of these teams have guys that are just excellent with the ball in their hands. Omar is very similar to Michael Gordon in that respect. They're both short guys, really feisty guys, play hard, and they're excellent with the ball in their hands. And at any given time, they can take it to the house. And when I played both these guys this season, that happened. Now, Michael Gordon's, his was called back for a touchdown. I think he had one earlier in the game before I got there. But just excellent with the ball in their hands. Wide receivers, Dime City. I think I'll give the edge to the wide receivers for Spartans. I do think I'll do that. Quarterback play. I think I'll give the edge to Omar Abbasi from the Spartans as well. So you'd think that it's a wash on the line. Dynamic playmakers, maybe it's a wash. I still give the edge to Michael Gordon in that one. Although it's close, and no doubt I think Omar is a better receiver than Michael Gordon. Definitely has better hands than Michael Gordon. Michael, love you. Praising you, no doubt, but you got to work on your hands, my man. But I'm thinking there's definitely some good wide receivers for Dime City, but no one that I'm overly entirely impressed with. I just feel like it's a momentum thing. For some reason, I'm going with Dime City. Going with Dime City in this one. But it's going to be close. And I think it could go either way. But that's just what I'm feeling right now, just like I felt it last week. Dime City, it's going to be a low-scoring game. 12-8. Spartans great with the 2-point conversions and 1-point conversions. 12-8, Dime City. And that's going to wrap it up. Sorry for the real makeshift show. No Horace. Kind of just threw this one together. Just watched the videos, but I hope you guys enjoyed. I know it's going to really rub some people the wrong way. You know what? When you do this and you try to be, as objective and, opinionated as possible, it's going to happen. But, hey, listen, you don't like what I'm saying? Use it as motivation to come out, shut me up, prove me wrong. All right? And I wish you all the best. And one thing that you can say for sure is all of you guys that are at this stage of the season, you all win more than me. Every single year that I played in JAMS, I've only won 2 games. The past 2 years, I've had 2 wins and 1 tie, but I don't win all that much. So you can all hang that on me. Choose to get on me about that. Anyway, I'm talking way too much. I said I was going to keep this brief. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week, inshallah, God willing. Hope the games go well. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you.